Hello, and welcome back to Random Rants with the Plaid Guy. Why am I wearing red? Why? It's because it brings out the color in my eyes. It's also because today's movie we're going to review is Woody Woodpecker. I know, if you've been watching this, I've been wanting to do a review of Black Panther. I haven't been able to see the movie yet. Hopefully next week I can get around to seeing the movie. Just calm down. Now, this movie, if you didn't see it in theaters, don't worry. You weren't supposed to. Universal only released it in Brazil. See, apparently Woody Woodpecker has a huge following in Brazil that's way bigger than the United States, which is why he got released there. But anyway, who is Woody Woodpecker? Woody Woodpecker is a creation of the 1930s. He's a lovable little redhead who goes around destroying things with his beaks and goes, He's real annoying. By the way, I'm not kidding. At least 30% of that movie is nothing but that noise. So, what is the story, you ask? Well, the story takes place in modern day. I know a lot of stories take place there. The story takes place in modern day where a big corporate lawyer is gearing up for his big case when he's fired from the firm. Boo! He decides to take a plot of land that his family left in with his fiancée, who has a Brazilian, Argentinian, Russian, French, Czech, I don't know. It's a very weird accent. Decides to go there with his fiancée, and then gets dropped off with his son from his ex-wife. And his son is this gamer kid who is more connected to technology. I mean, who's connected more to technology these days? Don't answer that. But anyway, so they eventually go and they set up this place. The guy decides he's going to build a house there and flip it. Not realizing the first code of flipping is find a bad house and flip it for profit. That's literally the whole point. Flipping. Not building. Flipping. And apparently he doesn't have to have a city commission to worry about or anything else like that to clear any plans with. He just starts constructing, which is why Woody decides to destroy the place. Woody keeps stopping him from developing on the land. Meanwhile, when he goes to the park ranger, played by a very cute, I forgot her name. She's been in some movies. She's one of those duck girls. But when he goes there, he finds out that Woody's actually a protected species. Which also begs the question, which is weird, what happened to the rest of Woody's species? I mean, it's established that he's the last of his own species. But what happened? Yeah, he must have brothers, uncles, sisters. Like, was there a Holocaust on woodpeckers? Were their pelts sold on the black market? Like, what happened to them? If you're trying to horn in an environmental message about saving species, you kind of missed it, movie. But let's get on with it. Also, a big thing with this movie is the disconnect between the people and Woody Woodpecker. Woody Woodpecker in this movie is completely CGI, while the people are live action. And let me have a quick one on what I think happened on the movie. Hello there, Woody. Hello there. Oh no, my dad's a jerk. Oh, I know. If this feels weird, this is kind of what half the movie is. You can definitely tell there's a ball there. Not a lot of people are actually like making you believe. I feel like a lot of them just took the quick and easy paycheck. I mean, even Scott McNeil is in this movie, who, if you don't know Scott McNeil, he's a voice actor, does a lot of anime. He does he does Piccolo on Dragon Ball Z. He did Dual Maximum Gundam Wing, one of my favorite animes of all time. My favorite is Sailor Moon. I'm 32, and I will admit my favorite anime is Sailor Moon. I've watched every single movie and episode of the original series. Fight me. But anyway, Scott McNeil is in this movie as a redneck with his brother, cousin, person? Who they decide that they're going to hunt Woody in the very beginning, and then eventually they kind of dwindle out. Not until like 3/4 of the movie. Because what eventually happens is the father makes a deal with Woody Woodpecker. He makes a deal with Woody Woodpecker that if he gives him these peanut snacks, which was established earlier in the movie that his son established with Woody a relationship over these peanut snacks, that he would leave his property alone. And beforehand, Woody commits all these like OSHA type of issues, like he electrifies somebody at one point, he knocks down boards. Like, why is OSHA not involved in this? But eventually he makes a deal with Woody that if he gives them these snacks, then Woody Woodpecker can leave them alone, which they do for a little bit. And he starts to like get half of a house finished. Meanwhile, he goes off to the festival. There's also a part, by the way, this is another part. This is where like two movies, it feels like, were spliced together. Probably from the script standpoint, but like, it's a definite movie made by some executive who is trying to figure out what the kids are into and not really making anything authentic and lived in. It's just carbon copy movie. But eventually, it turns out the son plays drums, he meets this girl, he really wants his guitar that Bruce Springsteen once owned, which, how the heck does a 14-year-old know who Bruce Springsteen is anymore? And then eventually they get together and form a band. Eventually Woody plays drums for them at this like big festival. And you think that that's probably the climax of the movie. Oh no, it gets better. Woody Woodpecker plays drums with them when their drummer gets sick after throwing up from a hot dog eating contest. And then he decides he wants a family. Now the movie decides to have a message. Now, 3/4 into the movie. Where were you beforehand? We were waiting. And then he makes this like really awful carving of all of them. It's awful. It looks like they used a filter from Instagram to make it. It does not look authentic at all. And then eventually he actually burns down the property, creates a misunderstanding. Eventually the dad hires the hunters, who's Scott McNeil and his brother cousin person, eventually go after him. Because eventually they capture Woody in a cage where literally the bars are about this big. Woody can literally just tiptoe out. And then eventually the son, as established earlier in the film, figures out where they are, takes his friends up there, and they get captured in human-sized cages. Because I don't know. They also deal in human trafficking now, apparently. But then the dad and the park ranger figure it out, and they go up there and they get captured too. Okay, well the park ranger at least did call the sheriff's office before this all happened. Anyway, eventually Woody Woodpecker the dad figures out a way of how to break Woody out. Woody breaks out, beats up the two main doofuses. And then we get to the climax of the movie, eventually where Woody Woodpecker drops them in a lake in the border between Canada and America, which literally is just a tiny little bridge. No border patrol, no nothing. There's just this little bridge. That's legit it. But eventually the climax of the movie, they all get captured. And then and then the dad and his son get free. They have a resolution. Beforehand, the fiance leaves. You can tell it's implied the dad and the park ranger get together, and they all live happily ever after. My problem with this movie isn't so much that it's an awful movie. It's just bland. This is the equivalent of those communion wafers you get in church. Like, kind of bland, no taste, fills you up for a little bit, but then you kind of want something more. And this is kind of the equivalent of that. It's, my two words I could give this movie are mostly harmless. Like, it's not insulting, it's really disconnected, very simplified, totally was done on a shoestring budget. Woody Woodpecker's voice literally, I'm reading notes by the way, Woody Woodpecker's voice literally sounds like they took clips from the 1930s and pushed it through an old audio program because reasons. But the other thing too about that is his mannerisms and his catchphrases all come from like the early 2000s, 90s. There's at one point where he does a talk to the hand. Like, he does these really outdated catchphrases, which, like I said, looks like it was done by an executive with a marketing degree who doesn't have children and got forced on this project and she hates every bit of it. And there's maybe 2 funny jokes in this whole movie. One is where Woody is banging outside. By the way, this is also the other thing. The movie doesn't really have a consistent story. It's kind of like what I'm talking about. It's just more of like slow plot developments into something that resembles a finale. That's pretty much about it. But it is really, really predictable. There's 2 poop jokes in it, which I don't know. Why do people find those funny? If they're done right, they're done right. But there's at one point, which my girlfriend pointed this out, I thought was funny. There's a console the construction workers are using to move equipment around, and then Woody takes over it and completely destroys it, but it literally looks like a ride console from Universal. Like they probably stole it while one of the rides was in refurbishment at Universal Hollywood. So I believe this movie was made in Los Angeles. Other than that, it's just, like I said, a plain, just bad, not really bad, but not really good kind of movie. I mean, if you're bored on a Sunday afternoon and you got nothing to do while you wait for work at 9 o'clock on Monday, you could do a lot worse than this one. So, that's my review. Next time, I swear I will have a Black Panther review. And if you guys like this, I'll do more bad movie reviews. If you like it, let me know in the comments, subscribe. Remember, I'm the Plaid Guy. This is Random Rants of the Plaid Guy saying bye for now.